For 2,000 years, the church has been called both the hope of the world and the source of the world's greatest wounds. That's quite a paradox, isn't it? How can something be so sacred and beneficial to some while also being so flawed and broken to others? So full of grace and love, and yet so capable of harm. Is the church a life-giving family that God has established to help heal the world, or is it a failed experiment we're better off abandoning? Maybe it's neither of these options, and maybe that tension itself tells us something important about who Jesus is and how he works. Hi, I'm Scott Sauls. Welcome to That's a Great Question, where we seek answers from Jesus to the questions that keep you up at night. Today's question is, if Jesus is about love, grace, and authenticity, why did he bother organizing a religion? Let's explore this in 3 parts, each one offering a fresh lens into the surprising beauty of the church's structure. First, what if structure isn't the problem? I love Jesus, but not religion, many people say. You've heard it said. Many of you have said it yourselves, especially if you've been hurt by a church. But here's the tension. If Jesus came to set us free, why did he seem so comfortable with the constraints of structure? He didn't reject the synagogue or the temple. He didn't erase ritual or law. In fact, Jesus leaned into it. He submitted himself to it. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them, Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Jesus honored Scripture. He instituted sacraments. He gave his followers commands. He even laid out conflict resolution practices in Matthew chapter 18. Why did he do all of this? Because structure, when it's redeemed, brings stability to faith. It's the difference between a river and a flood. Both involve water, but one brings life and the other brings chaos. Structure is what gives faith its meaningful shape. It anchors love in truth. It protects the weak and the vulnerable. It trains us in patience and humility. And like loving parents do for their children, the Lord sets up guardrails for his children, not to trap us, but to free us. A trellis is not the vine, but without the trellis, the vine will collapse. That's how Jesus built the church. He gave the church structure in order to support and sustain life and create the conditions necessary for producing fruit. Secondly, the blessing of boundaries. Here's a phrase that you probably don't hear every day. Boundaries are a blessing. We live in a time where people are suspicious of anything that smacks of the institution. Rules feel oppressive, authority feels threatening, covenants feel restricting, accountability feels invasive. But the Bible paints a different picture. It describes the church as a body with many parts, distinct, necessary, and interdependent. It speaks of elders and deacons, not as power holders, but as shepherds and servants. The roles are very specific. Elders facilitate teaching and preaching and shepherding, and deacons facilitate service and benevolence and care. The order and division of responsibility is very intentional. And here's why that matters. The Apostle Paul spent much of his letters instructing churches how to function. That includes leadership qualifications like 1 Timothy 3 outlines, guidelines for worship, and methods of correction. Paul didn't do this to micromanage other people's faith. He did it to nourish and cultivate their health. As pastor and author Eugene Peterson wrote, when we submit our lives to what we read in Scripture, we find that we are not being led to see God in our stories, but to see our stories in God's. The church's structure, rightly ordered, is one of the ways that God writes us into his redemptive story. It's part of how he draws us into and cares for us within his own spiritual and eternal family. A well-structured church forms us, protects us, and even heals us. Third, organized for mission. Here's another great benefit of and reason for the structure of what some call organized religion. The Great Commission itself is an organized religion project. Jesus did not say, go feel inspired and vibe with me in nature when you feel like it. He said this, he said, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them, and teaching them everything I have commanded you. That's Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 and 20. This requires things like well-aligned community, strategy, discipline, and order to pull it off meaningfully and effectively in our local communities and beyond. The early church took this seriously, as we see in Acts chapter 2, verse 42, that they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, the breaking of bread, and to prayer. There was an order to it all. And then Acts chapter 14, verse 23 tells us that Paul and Barnabas appointed elders in every church. Do you see? Structure was essential to carrying out Jesus' mission to the local church and out from the local church into Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. We in the West are now great beneficiaries of this, as we are the ends of the earth that Jesus spoke about some 2,000 years ago. And today, much of the good in the world has also come through organized faith. Hospitals, schools, human rights movements, poverty relief, the abolition of slavery, civil rights. None of these things happened by Christians going solo. It happened through people organizing with doctrine, discipline, and shared purpose and mission. As the Anglican priest and author Tish Harrison Warren put it, the church, with all its flaws, is still the place where God's Spirit dwells. It's the laboratory for love, the training ground for grace. And when the church strays into corruption or pride, Jesus doesn't destroy the structure. He cleans the temple. The skeleton stays. What Jesus does is breathe life back into it and give it fresh flesh, fresh bones, and fresh organs. So maybe the problem isn't organized religion after all. Maybe it's our own disordered, overly independent, and free-spirited hearts. What Jesus set in place, rituals, rhythms, leaders, covenants, teaching, it was never meant to stifle your faith, but to give it roots so that your faith could eventually bear fruit and develop wings. The purpose of divinely sanctioned structure is not to make you small and weak, but to make you big and strong. The church is Jesus Christ's bride, his body, his beloved. So if you love Jesus, eventually you'll have to deal with the fact that he loves the church. Imagine telling any friend of yours that you desire a close friendship with him, but you don't want to have anything to do with his wife. Those two scenarios are mutually exclusive. Either choose one or the other, or take both together, but you can't split the difference. So it is with Jesus and his bride. The real question isn't whether religion is organized. It has to be. Everything that matters to us in life has an organization to it. The real question is whether it's organized around Jesus. To the degree that it is, we flourish. To the degree that it is not, we falter. Thanks for joining me here. I'm Scott Sauls, and this has been That's a Great Question. Before you go, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.